And it's that time of the week when our talkback lawyer David Whiting helps you with free legal advice. Melbourne solicitor David's here to help you. 1300 222 774 is the number. 1300 222 774 if you'd like to get some free legal advice. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, John.
How was the long weekend? How did it treat you?
Well, you know, it's... I worked yesterday. Does that count?
You beat me to it. I was going to say,
I took Saturday and Sunday off.
I bet you went
had
into
a whole
the
weekend. Yeah.
So it meant you got Sunday as a holiday and worked Monday instead of going in on Sunday.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Oh,
yes.
that's all right.
It's just, John, you know what business is like these days. You get 60, 70, 80 emails a day. If each one took 10 minutes to respond to, where would your day go?
You only get 60.
Oh, yeah, I'm not on many lists, John. I try really hard not to get on lists. But I find conversations by email very difficult because it's every 20 minutes somebody says a sentence.
I had...
I think if you get to 3, you ring up.
I was away yesterday on the public holiday.
Yes.
And I had 280 this morning when I came in at 5:30.
Cool. You're far more popular than me then, John. That's clear.
I can't tell you how many of them get deleted without being looked at.
Oh, okay. I shall remember. I'll ring in. I'll text you instead.
No, well, I mean, some of them are just press releases. And you go, I don't care what they're saying in their press release. Anyway, I was very sad to hear this morning that Bob Baxt, Professor Bob Baxt, who used to head up what was called the Trade Practices Commission.
And is now the ACCC.
Now the ACCC. And before that was the Dean of Monash University Law School and a professor there for a long time, has sadly died. I think he was just shy of 80 years. And he was a very important figure in my formative years. So I want to pay tribute to a remarkable man who was a brilliant teacher and a great expert in his field of competition and regulation law. And he had a very big heart and was a very generous person at the law school while I was there.
Yep.
So in fact, he's the reason I studied law. Okay.
Hero worship?
Not quite, no. Oh, no. It was just that he once, when I once met him, at a social occasion, he sat down and said, here's what it's about. And then very generously, he sent me a copy of a magazine, a journal, a professional journal.
Yes.
Which was, I don't know, I think I'd read Soul Dad Brother by George Jackson at school or something, and I thought criminology was fascinating. So he sent me a copy of the Journal of Criminology or something and said, here, read this and study law. So I did.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah. There you go. So yes, to his family and all of those who worked with him, we've lost yet another important figure.
We have.
Other things?
John, I had a glorious light's not the right word, a case at VCAT that was decided at the end of February. And in this particular case, a gentleman had purchased a Volkswagen Golf, and he found that the mapping system in the sat-nav system didn't work to his... Well, in fact, it got a number of things wrong from time to time.
Now, he bought it new.
He bought it brand new, and he paid $41,000, and he then went to VCAT to say, this vehicle is a lemon, I have rights under the Australian consumer law, I want my money back. At the end of the day, the application was amended to the payout on the lease that he had for the vehicle. And but the member hearing the matter at VCAT found that it wasn't such, that in fact there was nothing wrong with the vehicle, that they'd in fact replaced the mapping, the unit that read the maps, but didn't...
The hardware as well as the software?
Yeah, the software was supplied by somebody else, but that didn't come from, supplied via Volkswagen, but it wasn't their product. And
it would have lied on the fuel consumption needed to get to any particular place. We know that.
You clearly read yesterday's papers, yes. So he went to VCAT, and VCAT said, look, no, we don't find that there's a fault with the vehicle entitling you to compensation.
So he wanted to give the whole car back.
And
because the GPS was sometimes inaccurate.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty cheeky.
And the evidence was that he didn't use the GPS all the time. So if he knew the area, he didn't rely on it. It was only when he didn't know the area. And then there were some times when it didn't work. Therefore, I don't want the vehicle anymore. It's failed me. Right? So, and the tribunal said, look, no, that we're not satisfied that you've suffered or that they've breached their obligations. And if we had found that they were, we wouldn't have given you compensation. We would have ordered that there be compensation, but the order for compensation might have equated to the value of a street directory.
A street directory?
Yes. So, you've got something that works 99% of the time. 1% of the time it doesn't, and I appreciate that can be crucial, but if you crunch the numbers.
Wow.
Now, a couple of questions from last week and one from the week before.
Just on that,
yes?
I presume that the car company, in this instance it's Volkswagen and the retailer, they would have had to spend a small fortune defending a case like that.
They would have spent a reasonable amount of money. The problem, John, is we don't have a definition of what's a lemon. There's no state or federal legislation.
Yep.
Well, there's lemon laws, but I don't say what a lemon is. So if you like, the rights for lemons...
That's not in my mind. A car's not a lemon because the GPS is sometimes inaccurate.
No, but there's a whole lot of people who were... I heard someone the other day was dissatisfied because they'd bought a diesel and the problem was they only drove about 10 kilometres a day and they couldn't work out why it was clogging up.
Well,
and therefore that was a defect for which I should get a refund.
No, it's a defect in your thinking about what sort of car you should buy, because diesels are no good in urban areas where they're used for short trips.
Yeah, unless there are lots and lots, they've got to be hot.
They have to get hot to burn the particulates. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not the car maker's fault.
Well, no, but...
We'll invoke Hugh Worth here.
Yes.
Yep. The problem, madam, is not with your car, it's with you.
Right. Now, we had a couple of matters from last week and the week before. John Megan rang from Oak Park.
Yep.
What she had was she had a care package for a mum, and the care package was outsourced. So the care package provider is essentially a management company that employs contractors to actually go and visit and do whatever needs to be done.
Yep.
Megan's complaint was that the ultimate service provider wasn't honouring what she thought were her obligations to a mum. And what could she do about it? Well, the answer is she could complain to the same people who can complain about the people with the care package. But like a contract of employment, it's not specifically enforceable. So if these people say, we don't want to look after Megan's mum anymore, they can't be compelled to.
Yep.
I can understand the frustration, and there might be some kind of rating that you could undertake in relation to these people. But apart from that, the answer was, Megan, there is nowhere to go because you can't compel these people to look after your mum and you can't compel them to look after these people in a particular way. It's either what you agree or one of you walks. Now, homework.
Yes.
The law of the sea. What's the territorial jurisdiction? There are 6 pieces. There's a piece of legislation in every state and a Commonwealth Act, the Crimes at Sea Act of 2000. It's beautifully worded because the Commonwealth on its drafting isn't quite sure what its jurisdictional limit is. So, and what it effectively says is that the state law extends in 2 stages. One to the territorial limit of 12 nautical miles, and then in an outer adjacent area to the edge of the economic zone, which is 200 nautical miles, but it's the state law that applies. So, but it then goes on to say that while you can be charged, there can't be a hearing or determination of a charge without the Federal Attorney General's permission. So
even if it's under state law?
Yeah, it's a great piece of legislation.
That's a hybrid.
Well, we're not quite sure we want to run this, So it's more like we'll run it if we think we might.
If everyone says we might.
Yeah. Now, in terms of civil law, if you were going, there's almost no case law on it, but if you were going from an Australian port to an Australian port, Australian civil law. Otherwise, if your port is not Australian, that your destination port or your departure port coming to Australia is that you would normally apply the law of the flag.
Okay.
So that might be Liberia, or it might be someone far more interesting.
All righty. Glad we've cleared all those matters up. Let's get to today's callers. Arnold, where are you, Arnold? In Lethbridge?
Correct.
Where's
Lethbridge. That? That's between Bannockburn and Meredith.
Okay. Welcome aboard.
Just south of Meredith, about 14 k's.
Yep. Far away.
Okay. I've got to give you a little bit of history. 15 years ago, there was a pork company, a pig company, that wanted to establish a bachelor farm that would produce pig semen.
Yes.
They were not producing pig meat.
Yep.
They applied for a permit to have 200 pigs enclosed in sheds and have open lagoons to collect the waste and then to spread the waste on the property.
Yep.
We took that, a large number of residents took, we
So you went to VCAT,
we
and what was the
objected to
result?
it. We objected to it at
Council.
the council. They issued a permit to do that. We took it to VCAT. VCAT sent us all to mediation, and we came to an agreement that there would be a maximum of 200 pigs on the property. They'd be enclosed in a shed. All the waste would be contained in an enclosed tank, vented through the shed so the air goes through scrubbers, and all the waste would periodically be removed from the property by enclosed tanker. That mediation had, my memory's a little bit shaky, 147 signatories. At the time, it was...
Arnold, where are we at? What's the problem?
The problem is the company now wants to double the number of pigs that they hold on site.
Yes.
They want to go back to a open lagoon system and spreading the waste on the property.
They want to seek a further variation beyond what was mediated at VCAT last time. What's wrong with that? They're allowed to do so, and you're allowed to fight them.
Well, there is a VCAT order.
No, I understand, but they're applying to council for a new permit or for a variation of the permit.
Correct.
And why can't they do that? So if I build a house on a block of land next to you and 5 years later decide I want something bigger, does that mean I can't?
Well, if there's a court-imposed decision...
Yes, so the effect of the court-imposed decision is this, is that the occupier of the land or the permit holder has a permit that allows that land to be used for that particular purpose. It doesn't say only that purpose, always that purpose, forever that purpose. What it says is you've got this right. Now, you're quite at liberty to go back and ask for a variation or indeed for a new permit.
And indeed, Arnold, you could go to VCAT along with your 100 and however many other signatories and ask for them to be further restricted in the same way as they can go back to VCAT and ask to be further expanded.
Okay.
It would be, Arnold, it would be difficult for you to go back and... If you were to go back and dispute the current permit, it would need to be on the basis that they're not complying with it, not on the basis that you now think it should be changed. But you're certainly in a position with your other 146 signatories to contest, to object to the variation or indeed to the new permit.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Jason in Grovedale. Morning to you, Jason.
How's it going, John? How's it going, David?
Welcome.
Look, quick question, I hope. If a lawyer on a family law court matter failed to get the result I wanted, and I heard from last week you could take your lawyer to VCAT if you're unhappy with his result.
Well, you can take a supplier of services like a lawyer to VCAT if you've got a dispute about the work that was done and the fee that was paid.
Yeah.
So it doesn't give you the opportunity to retry the claim.
Okay.
And it's and what happens when you go to court is that there is a judge sitting there, and the parties make submissions to the judge on the basis of the facts as they know them and the law as they understand it, and the judge then makes a decision based on what is put to the judge.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, I don't. I've gone to court in circumstances where I've been fairly confident of the outcome, but I learnt a long, long time ago that you never guarantee the outcome to anyone.
This was a result, David, of him not putting in the correct paperwork. It wasn't like all the I's dotted and T's crossed.
How long ago was it, Jason?
It was in the last year, and that's what I want to know.
No, you're within time to make a complaint.
What is the time frame, David? Like, is it
Well, I think it's 2 years, but I'm certainly satisfied with it's within a year. But this is what I'll call it's a professional standards complaint rather than a fee complaint.
So do you go to the Legal Services Commission?
You can go. You can run it in the magistrates' court as a loss that you've suffered, but that might be difficult. So if your argument was over access, how do you quantify what the access is worth?
Well, you want the access rather than money. You
do. In which case you would then need to go back to a court exercising family law jurisdiction.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Does that help you, Jason?
It does. It'll send me just off on another path, and I don't know if I like getting there or not.
Okay.
No. Well, look, down in Grovedale, there is a free legal centre in Geelong if you want to go and get some free legal advice in there and just have a chance to talk it through with someone who may be able to help you make up your mind.
Okay, thanks.
All righty, good luck. Leonie in Wonthaggi. Good morning, Leonie.
Oh, good morning. Look, I'm calling on behalf of a friend of mine. After the death of her stepmother last year, she discovered that she'd been made a co-executor of the will along with her stepbrother. She also learnt that the aged care facility where her stepmother resided for some years is owed probably about $30,000 in care fees.
Yes.
Now, there may be enough money in the estate to cover the care fees, and there's an ongoing issue with Centrelink who may not have been paying entitlements. But the question is, what happens if you're made an executor without your knowledge? And is she responsible for the outstanding debt if there's not enough money to cover it in the estate?
Okay, Leonie, you can never become an executor without your knowledge.
Right.
Now, your mother may have nominated you as an executor in the will.
Yep.
But at that stage, you've got the ability to decline. You just don't do anything.
But what if you're not told?
She wasn't told.
If you're not notified that someone's decided to name you as their executor?
Well, you would hope that conversation would happen.
You would.
Because if I nominate you as my executor, we have a discussion about how I want you to do things.
But what if that doesn't happen? Even if it's obviously best practice and well advised, but if someone doesn't do it?
Then the issue...
You could end up like Leonie's friend being surprised that you've been named as an executor without your knowledge.
Yes, yeah, it can happen, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
What we often get calls from people who say, Mum's died, what does the will say?
Mm.
And we say, it appoints A, B and C. Oh, really?
How did that come about?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
so Leonie...
those are people who aren't executors, not being told who is an executor, but Leonie's friend
a mixture
here,
of both. She's named as an executor in the will. That of itself imposes no obligations on her whatsoever, Leonie.
Okay.
Now, in terms of the liabilities of the estate, it is possible that your friend does not have any personal liability as an executor other than in the circumstances where she does something wrong that causes the estate to lose money. But what you're talking about is an estate that might have assets of $20,000 and liabilities of $30,000.
Yes.
The estate is administered in insolvency.
Right.
So you can get the assistance of an insolvency practitioner, but we're starting to spend a lot more money than is necessary. There's a priority of payments, so the funeral payments get paid first, the cost of the administration gets paid second, the creditors get paid third, and if there's anything left, if it goes to the beneficiary. So she can leave it to the stepbrother and say, you sort it out, or she can share what's involved with the stepbrother. And with a estate of that size, to me, it's a question of talking to the aged care facility and saying, that's all I've got.
All right.
Will you take it?
Yep. Okay, so you can just say, look, sorry, I didn't know I was executor.
Yes, I'm going to let the cup pass. I'm not going to take it.
Yeah, you can decline. You might find that, Leonie, the local library will have a copy of the excellent law handbook, the 2018 edition having just been released. Even if they've not yet got it, it's only a week or two old, then the 2017 law will be the same for this area.
Yes.
And the chapter there on estates may help you understand a lot more about the context within which you're asking those questions. All right?
Yep. Thank you.
And the law handbook published each year by the Fitzroy Legal Service, David, and it's the 40th edition, 40th anniversary.
I think I've got 20 of them, John.
They're
getting bigger.
The old loose, very much bigger. The old loose leaf ones becoming, I'm sure, highly collectible in very obscure circles. Greg and Baldwin, morning to you, Greg.
Hello, Greg.
Hello, Greg.
Greg.
Last call, Greg.
Hello, can you hear me?
You're on air now, just in time.
How are you?
Good.
Good, yeah. Okay, my situation is a work-related one where I've sustained an injury and I've been on different duties of what my usual ones are. My doctor has told me that he doesn't recommend me going back to my usual duties, and I feel that that it was caused by something that was the responsibility of my workplace. And I've gone to my my personal doctor because the first doctor I saw was I was told to see them by my workplace.
Yes.
So my GP, I'm going to be seeing them, getting scans, getting their opinion. Say in this hypothetical where both my GP and that company doctor say that their advice is that I don't go back to my usual duties.
Yes.
What options do I have what options do I have then?
Well, it's in circumstances where you can't do the task that you were doing, there's an expectation that the employer will give you a task that involves light duties and complies with the requirements of the doctor.
Oh, sorry, then I should have asked then, because I've been doing that since my injury, and no one's admitted it, but I feel that it was the responsibility of my workplace that had caused my injury. That's my feeling of it, so I'm trying to be as vague as possible in terms of who...
Well, I must say you're doing a very good job at being vague, yes.
So what I'm trying to ask is, say if if I'm not able to get the training, if that brings me back to the original salary that I was earning, get me back to that salary.
No, the expectation is that you would still be on the same money, but you mightn't get overtime in the job. That could be that kind of restraint.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
so I'll pay you the same, but your old job had 10 hours of overtime a week, and this one doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
That's probably what it's going to be. So there's an expectation that there will be light duties. What is it you're trying to ultimately achieve, Greg?
Ultimately, I'm wanting to achieve the same income that I was receiving in the past, several years that I've been working here.
That's not the way the system works, right? You may have the ability to bring an action for, if you can prove negligence, but there are limits on that. Look, I'll have a look at the question during the week and give you a better answer next week, if that's all right, Greg.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, tune in at 10 o'clock next week. Greg, Rakesh in Craigieburn. Hi, Rakesh, you're through to David.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for taking my call. Actually, I have a question because I built the property with one of the builders, and the thing is they're supposed to come after 6 months to check the warranty things. If something goes wrong, they can come and fix. Yeah, but
it's up to you, Rakesh, to tell them.
Yeah, I tell them.
Yep.
I tell them to come and have a look. They came after 1 year, so like 6 months delayed.
Yes.
And then what happened now, they actually are calling them to come and fix the things, the list they made, and they're not coming. So it's like already 6 months already gone again.
Then your jurisdiction is at VCAT, Rakesh.
All right. So I have
well, you can nag them. It may well be that the threat of the proceeding going to VCAT might bring them out. And what you might also do is get some quotes for the work to be done by other people. But I would be telling them that you're going to VCAT first.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be going and getting the reports until you had some idea of a hearing date and whether they were or were not proposing to come out.
All right, okay.
Right, because I don't want you to spend $1,500 or $2,000 on a report that and they come and fix it, and you're really arguing about you get your costs of your report back. There'll be enough lead time for them to come and decide they're going to go and fix it, and you might still end up going to VCAT, but you might go on a smaller list.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rakesh.
Pleasure. And Emma in Brighton, good morning to you, Emma.
Good morning.
Go right ahead. You're through to David.
Yeah, just quickly, I had a series of IPL, which is laser hair removal.
Yes.
Under my arms, and after the second session, there's been, it almost looks like a burn, a really dark discoloration under my armpits, both of them. And I returned, and the woman said that she was very surprised. She'd never seen her skin have that kind of reaction before. She wasn't quite sure what it was, and has sent me away with a brightening serum.
Yes.
Anyway, it's not resolving, and my concern is that it may be permanently damaged. It's very, very dark.
Yes.
Looks like almost a burn.
Did you sign any consent, Emma? Did you sign?
You sign something. I don't know what, but yeah, you do sign something.
So my view is that you will have signed a document that basically says we can't guarantee perfection, and that if this is the byproduct, then this is the byproduct. So, it's been a couple of years since I've looked at the regulation of that industry. So I'll have a look between now and next week, Emma.
Okay, because I'm worried that it's going to be forever like that.
I understand.
Have you been to see a skin specialist to get that advice?
No, a girlfriend suggested that to me. Do you think that would be an idea? Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for a long-term solution, I'd be offered a skin specialist, because the chances are that putting a whitening cream or something on the arms is unlikely to give you the outcome that you want on a permanent basis.
You want to attend to the health side before you worry about the legal side, don't you?
Yes, I do. And then, of course, if it's an expensive process to reverse it or repair it or whatever.
Then you might need the legal advice, but I think you need to check what's happened to your body and your skin before you go racking up billable hours with lawyers.
No, I certainly don't want to do that.
Yeah,
so that's a shame, Emma. That's a terrible thing to say.
I know, look, I understand you need to see your family, but...
No,
I understand.
I'd be off to see a dermatologist.
Yeah.
Quick Smart too.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Emma. Thank you indeed. David, we're out of time, but I don't know what you're doing at 11 o'clock this morning, but I'm listening, John. I'm sure it's not going to be as riveting as the conversation out today with Jeffrey Robertson QC, who... he of hypothetical fames on Australian television, but in fact an international human rights advocate and now a judge, and a man who's written a remarkable memoir that I read yesterday called Rather His Own Man. He claims to have the record for both the longest summing up address at the Old Bailey in London as well as the fastest jury acquittal.
Okay.
Which is not a bad record to have.
But John, I can podcast these
You
things.
can podcast
I know this
these
to be
things.
True.
Yes. The technology.
So I can't change my 11:15 appointment, but right. I can podcast it.
Right. Okay. So he longest jury speech 4 days, and the fastest jury acquittal. The jurors decided to acquit while walking to the jury room, turned around before they even reached it, marched back into court to deliver the verdict, which was on an artist charged with the heinous offence of drawing on British pound notes, which they dismissed. So Jeffrey Robertson QC after 11 o'clock on The Conversation.
You would do jail in Thailand for that.
Yes, quite right.
Least Majesty. Thank you, John.
Thank you, David. Our talkback lawyer, David Whiting, back at 10 o'clock next Tuesday, helping you with free legal advice.